Hello, welcome to our weekly look ahead in the markets, and just a quick recap of what's been going on in this space over the last few days. We had the US inflation numbers out last week, the CPI print showing some moderation, PPI even further. So those indicators suggesting that inflationary pressures may be easing, but the core inflation reading for the consumer is still rather high. And bets on whether or not the Fed will be hiking rates by, in June by another 25 basis points. We're moving around quite sharply last week. We saw a roughly 1 in 5 chance at the start of the week in the wake of the hot payrolls number the week before that. But it was down to about 10% by or towards the end of the week as those inflation numbers just suggested some cooling. Also, we saw the weekly unemployment claims number rising to its highest in a couple of years. And so that's just pointing to maybe some signs of initial signs of weakness, perhaps. So the market is tentatively welcoming those signals. But we also had some weak numbers out of China, the PPI and CPI numbers showing deflation, and that really suggests a waning global demand. And so there's a sort of push and pull here between what's good for the market with regards what central banks do versus what's good for the market or bad for the market with regards to what's happening in the real economy, and whether or not there's going to be a hard landing as such, or whether or not the demand from China, the sort of engine of growth, is all that strong. So that's a sort of backdrop to this week. We've also got that debt ceiling wrangling continuing to go on. Remember, the US could run out of money by June 1st, according to the Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen. So all that sort of operating in the background. Also, towards the end of last week, we saw the regional banks start to flare up again as an issue, with PacWest saying that it saw almost 10% in deposits flowing out in the prior week. That sent its shares tumbling. Western Alliance, another embattled bank, or one that's come under pressure at least this year, said that it's actually seen $600 million of inflows in the week, May 2nd to May 9th. So there's a bit of push and pull here. We had Jamie Dimon saying that he's calling for a ban on short selling of bank stocks. So watch out for that one if there is sort of the mood to do that. If you see further pressure on some of these regional banking names, then that could start to look like a very realistic possibility, with implications for position taking and so on a lot of those financials. Coming up this week is a bit of a gut check for the US economy, again with the consumer in focus as US retail sales numbers set to come out. We also have earnings updates from Walmart and the Home Depot. So that's really a sort of look at how strong the US consumer is holding up in the face of all this inflation and rising interest rates. And then towards the end of the week on Friday, we're hearing from Fed Chair Jay Powell, who's going to be speaking amongst a slew of Fed speakers coming up this week. But that could be the most important one, as we look to see whether or not they're looking to open the door to a rate hike in June, or close that door firmly shut. But we think probably with the market well positioned for a pause in June, the job of the Fed right now is really to leave the door open to a rate hike. So it's trying to signal that it might still go ahead with another hike in June. The market not really positioned for that, as I say. It's actually positioned now for about 4 cuts through to January, and that's something the Fed has been pushing back strongly against. Markets, so equity markets still pretty range bound, sort of crabbing at the moment. We've seen the S&P trading in that sort of 4.1 to 4.2 kind of range. The future is bouncing off 4.125 every time it tries to attack it. The FTSE trades around that 750 level. As I say, kind of range bound, looking to see what fresh direction we might get in terms of debt ceiling, regional banks and inflation numbers and so on, all coming up in the coming weeks. Thanks for watching.